She passes into the kitchen, where she opens the pantry and steps up onto the folding stool. On tiptoes, from behind boxes of dry goods, she lifts out the mason jar. Ellis calls her name from the bedroom as she lowers herself to the floor. Stop all this endless thinking and turning over of old things. The devil stares through the glass at May, its eyes, black irises swimming in white sclera, full of words she shouldn't ever want to hear. The eyes blink to show her they might be something like human. A door or a veil opens in her mind, and through it, she sees two children crouching in the mud. The stones that ring them have grown taller, into monoliths, since Ellis planted them there behind the house in June. The girl and boy raise their trembling arms in some kind of rapture. They press their wrists against their temples, fingers splayed, then turn as one and stare back between the stones and through the door at May. They're both such seamless blends of her and Ellis that her heart aches. She is pushing the back door open before she realizes she has moved at all. Ellis is still repeating her name somewhere behind her, and the night is ripe with stars. She finds the moon, which isn't full unless half of it is tucked into a slot in the sky like a worn coin in an album. The jar hums in her hands for the first time since she scooped the devil inside it after the exorcism, and her voice wants to boil out of her. Some lizard in her wants to scream at the night. The priest asked them to read the Bible during their nightly affirmations, and they nodded at him. They don't own a Bible. Ellis grew up thumping one, he's told her 1,000 times, and May's parents lapsed long before she was born. She wonders now if there are words on those onion skin pages that would have guided her someplace else, or if she would still be here, holding this jar. The ring of standing stones is now a huddled pocket Stonehenge, and May has to close her eyes and open them again to bring the two children back. They're watching her, but pretending not to, smiling down at the wet earth. Are they wearing antlers? She can't tell. She can't say anything. The air is thick and hot and wavering, a sort of passion welling in it. She can see the dancers off to the right beside the house. The bending rim of the sky seems to drop stars into their crowns. She remembers the day Ellis presented them to her, as though she hadn't witnessed their slow metamorphosis alongside him. They'd stood beside the trees that day and held their opening pose, mirroring them, laughing. And there were evenings, the sun draining into the woods behind them, that they did dance, and she's sure they smiled and pressed their warm skins together. May turns back to watch the boy and girl gently spasm in the mud. She realizes she's close to naked, though the night is cool and she remembers wearing her pajamas to bed. "Let me out," the devil says, and she does. The lid unscrews as if greased and disappears into grass that hasn't been cut since midsummer. The children wink out in a sigh, and May staggers after them into the circle of stones, which seem taller than she is now. She pulls the devil out of the jar, feeling its spongy flesh swell and pulse in her hand, its worms twining around her wrist. It tells her where her children are and how to find them. May is nodding as Ellis bangs out of the house toward her in only his underwear, and there's a moment where she sees the wonderful, gorgeous man he was hidden in the pasty bulk. Then she simply wishes he had a shirt on so she wouldn't have to see the meat of him bounce as he runs across the yard. She drops the jar to where her feet have sunk into the mud. She strips her panties off, and a deeper chill clasps her skin. "Let me in," the devil says, and May spreads her legs.